Good afternoon and happy holidays, everyone, from historic Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin, where the Denver Broncos, playoff bound, coming in here at 10-5, take on the playoff hopeful Green Bay Packers. The picture has crystallized greatly at this hour of the day. In the NFC, Minnesota or Green Bay will be the final team to make the postseason. Green Bay has to win today. Minnesota has to lose in order for the Packers to make the postseason. In the AFC, the Denver Broncos are all set at the number 6 spot. They will be playing in the postseason, and so will the rest of the teams you see there. As we welcome you to Lambeau Field, Greg Gumbel, Phil Simms, and Armin Katayan, a look at Mike Shanahan in his 9th season as the Denver head coach. And on the other side of the field is Mike Sherman, who has done an outstanding job in his 4 years as the head man here in Green Bay. These Denver Broncos, everything is set for them, but for the Green Bay Packers, they need a victory here. They need the Vikings to lose in Arizona in order for the Packers to see the postseason this year. Micah Noor will kick it away. Deep for Green Bay, Najee Davenport and Tony Fisher. We'll keep you updated on the progress of that Minnesota-Arizona game as we go along, and this one will go into the end zone. It'll be downed and come out to the 20-yard line. Brett Favre coming off of one of the great games in any quarterback's career. And his starting lineup, as you take a look at his numbers from last week against the Oakland Raiders, Coach Mike Sherman says that his center, Mike Flanagan, has been terrific, underrated, a huge key to the Packers' success this season. Another key, without question, 6th-year running back Amon Green, the NFL's second leading rusher, 9 100-yard games on his ledger this season. Green and Henderson in the backfield. Favre will throw in this direction, and that is complete across the 30-yard line to Javon Walker, the second-year wide receiver out of Florida State. The Denver defense, the number 3 ranked defense in the NFL. Sports Bertrand Berry at defensive end. He's contributed 11.5 sacks this season. Middle linebacker Al Wilson has contributed spark and leadership from the center of the unit. An injury to Nick Ferguson has Sam Brandon starting at safety. Jimmy Spencer also starts at cornerback for injured Kelly Herndon. Green and now number 22 Nick Lucci in the backfield, and this is Green, his first carry of the day, out close to the 35, and Kenoy Kennedy coming up to make the stop.
Greg, so many things talked about this game. You know, Green Bay's got to win, Minnesota's got to lose. Brett Favre last week plays on Monday night, basically not here all week long, comes in Friday just in time for practice. He looked very sharp in practice to us, and Mike Sherman said we have a cut-down version of the offense, so I take it Brett Favre learned it quickly.
Green straight ahead to about the 40-yard line, just short of the 40. Darius Holland after a 5-yard gain. There you see the final in Detroit. St. Louis losing to the Detroit Lions by a score of 30-20, and that means the Philadelphia Eagles are the top seed. Who gets to call Rush and tell him?
You just won't let that go, will you, big boy? But it's
congratulations to Andy Reid, Donovan McNabb, and the Philadelphia Eagles. They're home throughout the NFC playoff. 3rd and 2. Favre flushed, throwing, has a man open, and that's complete inside the 45-yard line to Donald Driver. First down, Green Bay in Denver territory.
Brett Favre so good at moving out of the pocket, and when he's moving, when he feels the pressure, able to still throw the football down the field with power and accuracy. Donald Driver has been consistent, and the one thing you will notice when you watch the Green Bay Packers play now, they are getting the football in the passing game down the field because they are running it so well.
3 tight ends now. Give is to Davenport. Davenport to the 35, still on his feet, and the play will be blown dead just inside the 35-yard line. Let's go back to what you did very well, I might add, in our pregame on the NFL Today. You talked about Brett Favre's finger, and in fact, we got a close-up look at it on Friday, and we talked about the fact that it was broken just above the nail and how he has to get out here and throw early just to get it loose.
Yeah, just to get it loose, to get used to the pain, Greg. And what happens after you throw enough footballs, it just kind of quits hurting. You get used to it. And he told us, you look at that right thumb, the bandage is not too bad, and it's gotten better every single week. And I've noticed it in his performance when I watch him throw.
Favre with the screen, Davenport, left side, inside the 30, tripped up to the 27-yard line. Sam Brandon making the hit, 7-yard pickup, and enough for another Packer first down.
You talking about a well-rounded offense. The Green Bay Packers, they run it well. They got a quarterback who can throw it down the field, and they are one of the best screen teams in the National Football League. And I asked Mike Sherman, how come you're so good at screens? And he says, first, you need a quarterback who's a good actor, and we have one that's a pretty good actor in Brett Favre.
Green and Lucci in the backfield. The pitch for Green. Cuts it left side, inside the 25 and out of bounds. You know, both these teams are expecting a well-fought battle here, and there's no sense in talking about the Denver Broncos, and this game means nothing. I think we've seen a lot of games taking place already today around the National Football League. Teams to whom the game meant nothing came up winners.
New Orleans Saints, that's one that comes to mind. Detroit Lions, another one that comes up right away. So when you look out at Minnesota, Arizona, that's not a given. And of course, even though the Denver Broncos, a lot of injuries, not playing some of the regulars, it doesn't mean it's a given that Green Bay can win the game.
Favre. That's complete to the 15-yard line. Wesley Walls, the tight end, number 85. Pickup of 8 and another first down.
Well, you know, so many things are said about Brett Favre, what he does as a quarterback, but what I think has made him so successful over a long period of time, very loose and limber when it comes to letting it go or throwing the football. His motion is just rhythmic, and over all these years, he's been in the league quite a few years, he's thrown a lot of passes. He really still has one of the strongest arms in the league and very pliable, can throw from a lot of different angles.
On first down, straight ahead, Green to about 12. You know, you mentioned how Mike Sherman said there's been a cut-down version of the offense, but he also said they installed some plays last week in anticipation of the short Christmas week.
Yeah, you know, it's really interesting. I know a lot of coaches do that. They put in a very detailed, long script the week before. They played on Monday night, Greg. He knew his team might be tired, so he wanted to cut the learning down, so he put extra on them the week before.
That Green Bay offense is number 2 in the league in touchdown percentage in the red zone. Here's a screen. Green to the 10, to the 5, and down inside the 5-yard line. It'll be first and goal, Packers.
Boy, this looks easy just sitting up here. And their screens, the first couple, you talking about a good actor, watch the quarterback. Fakes right, lets the defense get close to him. Then when he throws the screen, it makes it harder for the defensive line to react. And if you want to stop a screen game, the defensive linemen, they are the #1 group that's got to stop the screens.
Green and Lucci in the backfield on first and goal. Green. Hit at the line of scrimmage, spins forward to about the 2. Donnie Spragan coming up and making the stop.
Well, we've talked so much about this Green Bay offense because they just keep producing first downs and good plays, but this Denver Bronco defense, it's been one of the most consistent units in the National Football League this year, and a lot of reasons why they are consistent. They don't do a lot, so they don't make mistakes because they keep the learning simple.
Second and goal from the 2. Still with the football, throws, end zone, almost intercepted, caught, touchdown. Bubba Franks caught the tipped pass, and the Packers take the lead.
Hey, Brett Favre is excited about this because he gets away with one this time. Ja'Shawn Sykes tips the ball, Bubba Franks catches it in the back of the end zone. But let me say this, nobody covered Bubba Franks from the snap, from the line of scrimmage that whole time. So Brett Favre should have made an easy touchdown.
Ryan Longwell's kick is good. Favre throws his 9th touchdown pass the last 2+ games. Congratulates Bubba Franks. And why not? Packers lead. pretty much a statement drive by these Green Bay Packers to open the game, don't you think? 80 yards in 12 plays. Bubba Franks with a 2-yard touchdown catch. And Favre and the Packers on top 7-0.
Yeah, during the commercial, Greg, you get a kick out of watching Brett Favre throw because he throws off balance so much. He flicks it with his wrist. That's one of the reasons why he's a terrific screen thrower, as Mike Sherman was telling us, because he can throw it waist high, over the top, and just a great touch hand thrower of the football.
As you mentioned, too, it takes a lot of acting to make a screen work very well. And Mike Sherman says, I think that's the part Brett Favre likes the best, is the acting.
That's it. Bring him in, full of.
Delpha O'Neal and Adrian Medice are deep for the Broncos. From the 6-yard line, it's O'Neal to the 25 and down at about the 26-yard line. 20-yard return. Torrance Marshall with the tackle. Little flick of the wrist. A Brett Favre specialty and a Packer touchdown. Outside of Lambeau Stadium, Lambeau Field, Lambeau Building.
Beautiful here, beautiful facilities. The best that I've been in anywhere, college or pros. Jarius
Jackson making his first career start here in Green Bay. And this is Quentin Griffin, right side and running room. Out close to a first down, out to the 35-yard line. Denver's offense. Center Tom Nalen headed to his 5th Pro Bowl, is in the middle of a quick and talented offensive line. And Quentin Griffin, who just made that run, made a splash last week with 136 yards and 28 carries in the win at Indianapolis.
When you watch Quentin Griffin run, tell me when you're at home looking at it if he does not remind you somewhat of Barry Sanders. Very shifty, quick, and much more powerful than people think.
On short yardage. There he is again, across the 40, out to the 42-yard line, and that'll be a first down for the Denver Broncos. A look at the Packer 4-3 defense. Kabir Bajabiamila, the first Packer to record 3 straight seasons with double-digit sack numbers. He has 10 right now. The rookie Nick Barnett has been an outstanding performer at middle linebacker. He's Green Bay's leading tackler. And Michael Hawthorne makes his 2nd straight start at cornerback for injured Mike McKenzie.
First down on the 42.
Ed Donatell, the coordinator of the defense for the Green Bay Packers.
He's saying, I thought Denver's starting running back was out. Clinton Portis.
Jackson on the Denver bootleg, throws it, and it's almost intercepted. Marcus Anderson drew a bead on it, but it was low. He couldn't hold on. It'll be 2nd and 10.
Well, I don't know what Jarius Jackson was watching. There's a penalty on the flag. Penalty on the flag.
Offside, defense, 31, lining up in the neutral zone. 5-yard penalty, replay, first down.
Bill Carollo, our referee today.
He just lines up. Al Harris just lines up offsides. But on the play, you're the starting quarterback. It's your first start. Make the easy throw. Wide open receiver, but Jarius Jackson makes the tough throw down the field. Almost intercepted, but he gets away with it because of the penalty on the defense.
5-yard penalty, 1st and 5. Straight drop this time. Throws it out here in the flat. Nobody there except the receiver, Quentin Griffin. Griffin inside the Packer 45 to about the 41. 12-yard pickup and a first down. As you see some of the scores start to crawl across your screen, the one that the fans here are most interested in is that one. Arizona with a 3-0 lead on Minnesota, and we repeat, the only way Green Bay will make the postseason is with a Minnesota loss and a victory here today over the Denver Broncos. On first down. Straight drop for Jackson. Under pressure, throws this side, it is almost intercepted. Al Harris had it, and Nate Jackson saved the interception with the hit on number 31.
Well, a couple things. Jarius Jackson takes a long time to make the decision, and by doing that, he now gets pressure from the linebacker, Nick Barnett, loses control of the football, it hangs in the air, and Al Harris, you're right, Greg, the offense breaks up the interception.
Nate Jackson was just signed in the last day and a half off the squad, off the practice squad. Look at Jake Plummer, who is an observer today. 2nd and 10. To the 40. Darren Sharper with the stop.
Well, you watch this game, Jarius Jackson making his first start. Of course he's nervous. He's got to be. And we talked to Mike Shanahan last night, and I said, when did you tell Jarius that he's going to start? And he goes, I haven't told him yet. Because if I'd have told him during the week, he would have been so nervous that he'd be wore out before the game. So they told him last night. They told the team. Mike Shanahan's I thought he was excited about what's going to happen, what's he going to see from Jarius today.
3rd and 9. Here comes the blitz. Jackson over the middle, nobody there, or at least no one that deep. And that'll bring the punting unit onto the field.
Yeah, it was a wide open receiver, Dwayne Carswell, down the field. But Jarius Jackson, when you're excited and a little nervous, you are going to throw the football high as a quarterback, and that's what he's done with his first couple throws today.
What did you say prior to the game when we were talking? Don't worry about it, young fella. It's only your future and your career.
It's only your life. It's only your football career. But no, he'll settle down, and they run an offense which allows a quarterback to usually get in rhythm.
Antonio Chapman is deep for the kick from Micah Dorn. This one will bounce inside the 5 and go into the end zone and out for a touchback. It'll come out to the 20-yard line when we come back. 39-yard punt, 7-0 Green Bay. Welcome back to Green Bay, everyone. Along with Phil Simms, I'm Greg Gumbel. It's no secret the Denver Broncos are resting some people today. Rod Smith isn't playing. Jake Plummer, Shannon Sharp. You agree with that move?
I do, absolutely. And here's the reason why, Greg, because they fought injuries all year long. And finally, you get Jake Plummer healthy. Shannon Sharp's feeling good. Rod Smith, he's a warrior. He's always playing. So don't take a chance. Give them that one-game rest so they'll even be better physically next week.
5.5 minutes to play here in the first quarter, and in that first drive, look at Javon Walker on the receiving end. Then Donald Driver makes the catch. Brett Favre picks out Najee Davenport. And then Wesley Walls, Amon Green on the screen. And then the touchdown pass, which eventually found its way to Bubba Franks. Brett Favre isn't picky.
Throw it to the open guy. That's what you're taught. Pretty simple.
Green across the 25 to the 26-yard line.
You know, Greg, I want to go back to what you were asking, though. Mike Shanahan resting some of his players for this game, getting ready for next week's wild card game. But he did not tell the players. All those guys you talked about who are resting today practiced the whole week just like they were going to start and play, and then he kind of started hitting to them late on Friday. And, of course, they found out yesterday they would not be playing. So they got a week's worth of practice. It keeps them fresh. It keeps them really in tune with what they're doing. They just don't get beat up on game day.
Number 40, Tony Fisher, in the lineup on 3rd down. That pass is incomplete, and the Packers will be forced to kick. Antonio Freeman is the intended receiver, and punting unit will come on.
Well, that time the Broncos, we've seen them struggle early before. A couple weeks ago against the Kansas City Chiefs, they got run over in the first half, and then second half they dominated. So they're a defense, when you have success, they make some good adjustments, they figure you out, and then they get back at you.
Delpha O'Neal is deep for the kick, which is low. Line drive. O'Neal from his own 41. Penalty marker is down on the far side of the field as he returns to midfield.
Davenport made the tackle.
33-yard kick and a 9-yard return, and let's check the flag.
Yeah, I might be wrong, but I have not heard the announcer here yell out. Holding against the Broncos. Yell out or say the score of the Minnesota-Arizona game.
Holding during the kick while the kick was in the air. Number 23, the receiving team. 10-yard penalty. Receivers will keep the ball. First down, timeout.
That penalty is on Willie Middlebrooks. 4:13 to play, and you just can't come to a football game unless you have fun in Green Bay. Reminder tonight on 60 Minutes, Michael Jackson, for the first time since his arrest, talks to Ed Bradley and only Ed Bradley. See this exclusive interview tonight on 60 Minutes. Broncos first down, their own 32-yard line. Quentin Griffin, the lone back behind Jackson. He gets the ball. Nope, whistles blow.
Prior to the snap, false start. 86, offense. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
That's Patrick Haight. Now that can't be a total surprise because Jarius Jackson didn't get a whole lot more reps than he normally gets in any practice session.
Yeah, well, that's right. He only got a few. Mike Shanahan did not give them all to him and let him know that he was going to be the starter. And Greg, I just explained why, because this is more about keeping your regular guys in game rhythm than the backups who have to play this game today.
See, Quentin Griffin has been the offense for the Broncos so far. This is Griffin again, right side, and pushes his way out to about the 29-yard line. It'll be 2nd and 13, and we check in for the first time today with Armin downstairs. Armin?
Thanks, Greg. You know, Phil, just to follow up on your point, I talked to Jarius Jackson before the game. That's exactly what he said. I'm nervous. He said it's a whole lot like my first start at Notre Dame. He said, I did not get a lot of sleep last night. I took a rather big gulp when Mike Shanahan told me I was going to start this game, but he said, I have to be ready. He said, I cannot let the tradition of Lambeau Field and the moment here get to me. Greg?
It was pretty funny. We asked Mike, he hadn't told him yet. Well, when are you going to tell him?
Well, he played at Notre Dame. They got a pretty good tradition there. He handled it real well.
Running out of time, on the move, across the 35 and out to about the 38-yard line. Michael Hawthorne coming up to make the stop.
And
Pick up of 8, and it'll be 3rd and 5. Sorry, Phil.
I'm sorry, Greg. No, but if I was Jarius Jackson, I would just play by feel. Let it go a little. Don't try to pick out the open guy and read the defense too much. If you feel like running, take off, because that's what it should be like when you're playing and you're a young quarterback who hasn't seen a lot of action. Because if you go back and try to read the defense and analyze, well, you'll get sacked. You just can't process the information fast enough when you're a young quarterback.
5 wide receivers on 3rd and 5. Jackson throwing this side, incomplete, intended for McCaffrey. And that'll bring the punting unit on.
But so far, he has really been off the mark throwing the football. Not accurate. And Mike Shanahan said, look, he's a good downfield thrower, but he is not NFL accurate. You got to be a machine when you're talking about those short passes like that one to Ed McCaffrey. You got to hit them all.
Antonio Chapman will be deep for the kick. This is Chapman from the 24. Across the 30, the 35, and forward to about the 39-yard line. Fine return by Antonio Chapman. 38-yard kick, 15-yard return, 2.5. A reminder, follow along with the playoff race and see which teams will face off on Wild Card Weekend. Just click on the playoff race at CBSSportsline.com. Favre and the Packers begin at their own 39. And straight ahead, Amon Green out to the 45-yard line. Do you think Amon's in the groove yet? He told us on Friday that he really doesn't get into the groove until he's been hit a few times.
Well, if you're a running back in the National Football League, that doesn't take long, does it? Every time you carry it, you're going to take some good licks. But it was interesting. He's had such a look where he's ranked in the NFL this year through 15 games. Talking to Al Wilson, the middle linebacker for Denver, he says people don't realize how big he is until you see him in person. And we noticed that too when we talked to him on Friday.
Favre on 2nd and 4. Gonna go deep, incomplete, up the seam, intended for Wesley Walls. How's that Minnesota-Arizona game coming along? Jim Nantz in New York.
All right, guys, we're waiting to get the Vikings on the board here, and Elling from 44 yards. The kick is wide right. Minnesota down 3-0 again, having won only once in the last 16 games on grass. Back to you guys.
All right, Jim, the Vikings win the NFC North with a win, or if Green Bay loses. Both these teams can't make it. And if it's Green Bay, then they would beat Seattle here in the first weekend of the playoffs. Favre throwing this side, and that's complete to Wesley Walls, and Walls rolling out of bounds near midfield.
Wesley Walls, Greg, you said it right. He rolled. It did not look like he was hit after he caught the football. Very alert by him. He keeps moving. Safe throw by Brett Favre. Throw it low where he won't get touched. Oh, the leg did kick. Wesley, it did hit his leg. So if they did challenge the spot of the ball, he would be down short.
Well, Bill Carollo going to have a conversation down low.
Willie Walls, nice catch. Contact. Oh, that's a really good shot. That had to hurt.
Mike Shanahan discussing it on the far side of the field. Bill Carollo.
Challenge on the play. 4th down.
So he is short of a first down, and the punting unit will come on. That's a big play.
Yes, it is a big play. Yeah. Anytime you give an offense 3 more plays in this league, it leads to scoring opportunity, or scores about 60% of the time.
1:14 on the game clock, and then we'll wind it.
And you know, Greg, we didn't talk about it. Every time you hear Bill Carollo come on, you can hear the wind going through his mic, so it's a little breezy on the field today.
O'Neal is deep. Wobbling kick. Oh, it takes a Packer bounce inside the 10, inside the 5, and down at the 4-yard line. That's twice already today that Josh Bidwell has gotten off horrible kicks that have turned out tremendously well for Green Bay. And back onto the field comes Jarius Jackson. It has been a rough start for the young man so far.
Yeah, it has. I think the biggest, of course he's nervous. We talked about that. But the football is getting away from him. He sees the open receivers, but he can't throw it to the open receiver. So the decision-making, pretty good. The execution has not been good. So when you have a quarterback that's nervous like this and he's in this situation, call plays where you know you can get a certain person open. He doesn't have to think, and he can just make the throw.
Griffin and Anderson in the backfield. First down from the 4-yard line. This is Griffin. And there's not much there. You know, continuing to talk about Jarius Jackson, interesting story that some of the Broncos people told us, that when Jarius Jackson was cut, he and a couple of the other players who were cut continued to work out at a field next to the facility. And as the Broncos went through their practice sessions and the horns would blow and they would change, so too would Jarius Jackson and his other guys, and they would work out the same way as if they were part of the Broncos practice session.
Yeah, it's a pretty awesome story. It just tells you how much playing in the league and how much so many guys want to succeed. They're willing to do anything when it comes to the work.
On 2nd and 8, Jackson with the football. Looking, throws, far side, and that's complete. And what a hit laid on Ed McCaffrey on the far side of the field. He held on, but was hit hard by Darren Sharper, but has enough for the first down.
And when I watched Jarius Jackson warm up before the game, he worked almost exclusively on running right and left and throwing on the run, and he did it very well. And Ed McCaffrey, he's back in form. You always know when Big Ed is back when he takes some really ferocious hits. That's what he does well.
That will be the last play of the first quarter as time winds down here at Lambeau Field. That's the end of the first quarter, and there's our score. Green Bay 7, the Denver Broncos nothing. We're coming back to Green Bay right after this. You're watching the NFL on CBS. A look at the playoff picture for the NFC. It'll be either Minnesota or Green Bay. Carolina with a 17-point lead against the Giants. If they win, they clinch the number 3 seed, which would leave the number 4 spot to either Minnesota or Green Bay. And those Vikings trailing Arizona 3-0 at this point. Vikings scored 45 points last week. Haven't hit the scoreboard yet today.
Well, in this league, you know what they say, nobody cares about last week. And the players from the opposing team surely don't.
Jackson throwing over the middle. Caught midfield. He hold on. He did. No, he did not hold on. Charlie Adams made a valiant attempt, cut inside the defender and couldn't hold on.
Excellent route by Charlie Adams and a good job by Jarius Jackson throwing the football, because number 42, Darren Sharper, had his back to the quarterback and he was trying to fly down the field to find a wide receiver. He could not pick up the ball, but Adams couldn't come up with a tough catch.
Adams, a first-year man out of Hofstra at 6'2" and 190 pounds. 2nd and 10. McCaffrey back in the lineup, flank to the top of your screen. They'll keep on the ground with Griffin, and Griffin just barely nudging it across the 25-yard line before Larry Smith makes a stop.
When I watch games, when the Denver Broncos play, I really watch the defensive line of the opposing team. And as soon as you see somebody hit the ground, look out, here comes the running back. And when we talked to the defensive lineman of Green Bay, Greg, and they said it, hey, what did Grady Jackson say? He was at the Oakland Raiders. He's played the Denver Broncos before. He goes, oh, I know I'm hitting the ground. I'm going down. They're going to cut me, but that's just the way it is when you play this offensive line. Can you stay on your feet? Can you dance along with them to make tackles?
Broncos need the 32 for a first down. Jackson throwing over the middle, and he's got McCaffrey enough for a first down across the 35 to the 37.
Well, that was like a new quarterback that time. That was confident, decisive, and the old terminology is Jarius Jackson just lets it rip. And that's what I saw during warm-ups. He really threw the football well. And I think that's what intrigues Mike Shanahan. Physically, it's there. He's big, he's strong, he moves around well enough to give him a little dimension there. He has a powerful arm, but just not accurate enough. But sometimes playing and experience will make you more accurate.
Timing looked to be more on the money on that last pass, too. First down. Griffin. And Griffin withstands the initial hit and falls forward back to about the line of scrimmage. Cledius Hunt with the first hit.
And when you watch it, Greg, what I talked about, watch the Packers defensive lineman. Does anybody hit the ground? Get your hands or get upfield. Cledius Hunt does. Larry Smith's in the backfield. And then Navy's makes a good hit. And wow, Darren Sharper cleans it up.
I think Darren Sharper's cleaned up a couple of plays already today.
He's mad. Well, that's well, Grady Jackson's in there. Oh, he's not in there right now, but being mad, that's a good
thing to bring to the dance with you.
A defensive player.
Jackson to McCaffrey, and McCaffrey is hit by Hawthorne coming up from the cornerback position. Pickup of 2. It'll be 3rd and 8.
Michael Hawthorne playing for McKenzie, who's injured. 2 interceptions last week. Just doesn't get fooled. Right in good position. Comes up and makes an excellent tackle. Boy, Ed McCaffrey, and it's not fun. I'm just, because we know him and we've watched so many, he can just hit the ground as hard as anybody there is. But he stays healthy. He's tough. A tremendously big target and sure-handed. Looks like he could be shaken up just a little.
Winded?
Winded.
Winded is the common phrase for, oh, I heard real bad. I need to recover over here. 3rd and 8. Jackson looking for room. Making time. Throws. It is intercepted. Al Harris. 40. 30. Tripped up. And he is down inside the 30-yard line. Jackson made the stop after a 36-yard return, and the Packers are in prime position.
Al Harris is in his zone this time, so he's really not chasing a receiver down the field. So what he does, he just stays back, and he's watching the quarterback, stays in the position that he is supposed to do. And when Jarius Jackson overthrows Dwayne Carswell, he is sitting right there waiting for the football. He's on Ashley Lee, sees the football, nice catch.
Favre and company from the 27. With time, going for the end zone. Intercepted in the end zone by Sam Brandon. And will go the other way from the 20-yard line. Favre tried to capitalize right off the bat. Brandon came over and made the pick. 2 interceptions here at Lambeau in 7 seconds of play. It's still 7-0 Packers. Jarius Jackson. The hit behind the line on Quentin Griffin by Grady Jackson. Let's go back to the interception.
Let's look at it, Greg. Here's Sam Brandon. Brett Favre's got to make a decision there or to the outside. So what you do as a quarterback, either pump it outside to get the safety to go wide or pump it inside to make him come to the inside. He does neither. That's why Sam Brandon just reads the quarterback and makes an easy interception.
So the line of scrimmage is now the 19-yard line. Loss of 1 on that play makes it 2nd and 11. Griffin again. And Griffin out to about the 25 now. The change in quarterbacks. Cannell. Why yank Jarius Jackson so soon?
Well, here's why. Because the opportunities that have been in this game so far for the quarterback have been quite a few. And Mike Shanahan told us last night, I want to win the game. I'm going to call and coach the game to win. He was resting some players, so that was not good. And I knew that, too, that Jarius Jackson would have to play pretty well to stay into the ball game. He did not. So Mike Shanahan said, hey, there's good opportunities. Let's take advantage of them. That's why he inserts Danny Cannell.
Danny Cannell came into this game completing 44 of 85 attempts for 381 yards and a couple of touchdowns. He throws to this side, and that's through the hands of his intended receiver, Ashley Lallee. Bajou was there, the defender.
Well, there's a blitz against Danny Cannell. He has nice protection, and this is a throw that Bronco quarterbacks always make to Rod Smith. You need a big, physical, tough guy who can fight for it. It was a pretty good throw by Danny Cannell, but Ashley Lallee does not come up with the catch.
That's Antonio Chapman deep for the Packers. He stands at his own 40. Packers should come out of this with pretty good field position. Chapman from the 41. Midfield and cut down just across midfield at the Denver 47-yard line by Keith Burns. 10:08 to play in the first half. Packers clinging to a 1-touchdown. We'll go back to New York. The usual suspects, Jim, Dan, Dion, and Boomer. Today's scores and highlights and the complete NFL playoff picture all coming up on the Nextel halftime report. Amon Green to the 42. Jay Sean Sykes with the stop, and it is still out in the desert. A 3-0 Cardinals lead on Minnesota. And again, Green Bay's only chance at the postseason is a victory here and a Minnesota loss to the Arizona Cardinals.
Arizona has been tough out this year. I think they beat the San Francisco 49ers. Of course, they beat the Green Bay Packers. They've played a lot of teams tough, and as we've seen again today, no game is a gimme or easy.
Favre on 2nd and 5 pitches to Green, and Green pulls his way to the 40-yard line. Kennedy and Brandon with the stop after a 2-yard gain, 3rd and 3.
You know, Greg, you and I keep talking about this Arizona score, and I haven't heard it announced here in the stadium yet. And we know one person that doesn't care, is not paying attention. That's Mike Sherman on the sidelines. Last week, they travel out to play the Oakland Raiders on Monday night. We do the Saturday game last Kansas City and Minnesota. Minnesota wins. He didn't find out till the following day that Minnesota won. He goes, hey, I only got enough energy to worry about my game.
He said, keeping track of other games is too emotional for me.
That's it.
3rd and 3, and Tony Fisher in the backfield with Favre. This is Fisher. Left side. Inside the 35 and a first down. That ends a streak of drives for Green Bay. In their last 3 drives, they had 2 3-and-outs and an interception.
Well, you're talking about depth at running back. How about this? Fisher in the backfield. In front of you got Amon Green. Then you got Najee Davenport. They're both excellent runners. And Mike Sherman said, we have a good running game because we have excellent depth. We have 3 guys who can get it done. They have 2 good fullbacks. And on 3rd down, Fisher, good screen catcher and a good 3rd down runner.
Favre. out of his hand. That's an incomplete pass. Reggie Hayward, number 98, was in on Favre, and Favre juked him pretty good, and Hayward came back to get a piece of it.
Yeah, you're right. He did fake him out really well. This is a play the Green Bay Packers run 2 or 3 times a game. Play action fake, throw it to the right-hand side of the quarterback, but excellent hustle by Reggie Hayward. Not giving up, missed the sack, hit the ground, almost get up, and still cause havoc with the quarterback.
Good hustle by the big guy. 2nd and 10. Favre, 1 out of his last 5 throwing the football. This is Green. Green still on his feet and now falls forward to the 25-yard line. That'll be just about half a yard or so shy of a first down. It'll be 3rd and 1.
We talked about Ahman Green earlier, how physical he is as a runner. He talks about it too. He just says, look, once I know I'm going to get tackled, I like to be the hitty. I hit those guys. If you get down low as a running back, it makes it very difficult for defenders to get lower than you and really put punishment on you.
Davenport and Lucci in the backfield, and Davenport up over the middle, still on his feet to the 20 and a first down.
Boy, just keep rolling those running backs in there. A healthy offensive line by the Green Bay Packers this year. That's been the biggest key. That's the biggest reason why they continue. Well, they've had such a good year at running the football. That and 3 or 4 productive running backs.
See the rushing yardage the Packers have chalked up 2nd most in the history of their franchise.
They've had quite a history of running the football up here, too.
Here's Davenport. Davenport still on his feet to about the 18-yard line.
Little history lesson for you, Greg. You've heard of the Green Bay sweep, right? You heard that.
Yes, Phil, I've heard that. It has nothing to do with the cleanup detail after the game is over. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, but it's when you see statistics like that in a day and age where everybody spreads the football and it's all about throwing and the numbers, when you have a team like this that continues just to run the football so well, it's impressive.
Green to about 15. Well, when you just look at the pure numbers and you see that Ahman Green in Packer history is 2nd only to Jim Taylor.
Yeah, that's you know, watch this last play. As you were saying that, he goes up in the line of scrimmage. Now it's coming, gets down a little lower. You can noticeably see him get his shoulders closer to the ground. That just enables him to have contact and to fall forward.
Ahman Green, by the way, loves to initiate contact on defenders. Green Bay offense outstanding in the red zone.
Well, they should be. They got it all.
Favre waits on the run and is brought down at the 15-yard line, and that's Reggie Hayward in on number 4 again.
Well, I was going to say, Greg, they got it all. They have a good offensive line. They have the running backs. They have a mobile quarterback and a quarterback who has a very strong arm. So you put all those together, you should have success when you're trying to score down near the other team's goal line.
Ryan Longwell will attempt a 33-yard field goal. That kick is on its way, and it is perfect. Ryan Longwell, Green Bay's all-time points scored leader, now with 841. 10-0 Green Bay. Hey, you know, you can find out everything you need to know about Super Bowl 38, the history of the game, the entertainment, everything related to Houston. It's all at superbowl.com or at Super Bowl on AOL. 10-0 Green Bay, 4:43 to play in the first half. Losing is not an option for the Packers if they expect to see the postseason here today, and even victory might not get it done. That remains to be seen. From the 6-yard line, Adrian Medice, 25. And the collision makes his forward progress the 25-yard line. Statue of Curly Lambeau outside the field named in his honor. 4:38 to play in the first half.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by IBM, official information technology partner of the NFL, and by Imodium. Where will you be when your diarrhea comes back?
I'll remind you tonight, coming up on 60 Minutes, Michael Jackson, for the first time since his arrest, talks to Ed Bradley and only Ed Bradley. See this exclusive interview tonight on 60 Minutes. From the 23-yard line, Cannell and the Broncos. Cannell to throw. And hits his man across the 35. Loose ball is on the ground. McCaffrey had it and dropped it, and it's incomplete. And McCaffrey is laid out and not moving.
No, when he caught that football, there were about 3 or 4 Packer defenders that just react to the football in the air. He has to extend to catch it. Oh, and it's just helmet to helmet hit. Marcus Anderson is coming from the safety position, full speed. McCaffrey trying to protect himself, cannot even get down.
Well, they're tending to McCaffrey out there. We'll take a timeout. 4.5 to play here in the second quarter. Well, Ed McCaffrey smiling and walking off the field, and here's another look at it.
Yeah, watch the play. First off, everybody's going to think it's a completed pass. Well, it was close. He caught it, got his feet on the ground. It was making a football move. And then he fumbled the ball. Why the Packers can, well, I'll tell you later.
Well, let's get caught up on what's happening in Minnesota, Arizona. Here's Jim Nance.
All right, guys, we're closing in on the first half, and here Culpepper with all kinds of time. Look at this, rolling out of the pocket, flings it, and he is picked off by Dexter Jackson. Cardinals unable to find the end zone, sets up a second Rutgers field goal, 6-0. Cardinals, back to you.
And that's what's important to the Green Bay Packers and their fans. They clinch the AFC North title with a win and a Minnesota loss. Quick pass, and that's complete to the far side to Quentin Griffin, and Griffin out across the 30 to the 31-yard line.
You know, Greg, just to finish up the thought, though, why the Packers cannot challenge it. The pass was ruled incomplete on the field, so once it's ruled incomplete, it's dead there. If you do replay it, then the officials could rule, hey, it was completed, but since we blew it dead, it would work against the Packers. So Mike Sherman was talking to Bill Carollo during the timeout, and I'm sure he was informed of all those scenarios, and that's why they didn't challenge it.
Denver with 5 pass completions today, and 3 of them to Ed McCaffrey. Chapman is deep. Fair catch called for and made, and that'll probably be at about the 29-yard line. Tonight on CBS, Oscar winners Meryl Streep and William Hurt, along with Oscar nominee Renee Zellweger, star in the network premiere of One True Thing. That comes your way tonight here on CBS.
You know, is it okay, Ed McCaffrey, I wonder after that last hit, will he even come back into the game? Because he has taken a couple big shots so far today. But if I lean out the booth and yell to everybody that it's 6-0 Arizona or Minnesota, would that get a reaction from the crowd?
It might. I'd pay good money to see you do that.
Yeah, you pushed me out.
First down, Green. Across the 30 to the 31-yard line. We are under 3 minutes to play in the first half.
See, I know you. If I leaned out there to yell it, you would push me out because you have been in a bad mood all weekend. You know, you've been cranky, bossy. We have our meetings. We always have the same seats. You set my seat last night. It's really, oh, they're talking about cranky.
My bodyguard.
Look what's on that head. I need that for my head.
Green and Henderson in the backfield, and once again it's Green. Green pounds it forward to about the 34-yard line. Let's go down to Armin.
Phil, just a quick update on McCaffrey to answer your question. He's described as probable. He had his bell rung, they said, but he's okay. He's alert, and they said he can return.
Yeah, it was quite a bell ringing he took, too. And you and I noted as he was walking off the field, every single one of the Packer defensive backs came by, tapped him on the head, tapped him on the shoulder, wished him well. 2 minutes to play in the first half. 10-0 Packers. Last 2 minutes of the first half have been golden for Brett Favre and the Green Bay Packers. 5 times they've scored touchdowns in the final 2 minutes in their last 11 games. 3rd and 6. Favre rolling, throws, wide open. He hit Javon Walker. That's a first down close to midfield. 15-yard pickup. Both teams have all their timeouts remaining. Favre, straight drop this time, throws to the far sideline, and that's complete to Tony Fisher and out of bounds. Phil, we've had the answer to your question about why that Minnesota-Arizona score hasn't been given. It's on direct orders from Mike Sherman, and he carries a little bit of weight around here.
Yeah, he carries the weight. He's the boss. He's the president. He's the general manager. He's the head coach, and so whatever he says goes.
You betcha. We can, however, tell you Arizona still leads it at halftime. The score is 6-0. Second and 6. Almost too high a snap. Nice play by Favre, but he threw it away.
I'll tell you, Brett Favre, he just does not stress over decision making. He just throws the foot. They do some interesting things too, like the play on third down. He fakes the run, he rolls right, and usually when quarterbacks roll right, they throw to the sideline or to that side. They had receivers working away from him across the field. That's why Javon Walker was so wide open. So when you got a quarterback, really his arm is like rubber. It's just flexible, it moves around, and he can throw on the run as well as any quarterback I've seen in the history of this league.
Favre on 3rd and 6. Going to throw it downfield, and it is incomplete, and the penalty marker is down. Antonio Freeman, the intended receiver, covered by Jimmy Spencer, the cornerback and assistant coach for defensive backs.
Well, it's going to be holding on the defense.
Holding, 33, defense. Prior to the pass, 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. First down.
Trying to get him. He was the inside receiver, right off the line of scrimmage. It was, it was a close call. Greg, you said it. Jimmy Spencer, coach and player. He has to be paid as a player, because if he was paid as a coach, that would be against the salary cap, and that would be illegal. But they've talked about how he's handled both jobs very well.
You saw there the first since Dan Reeves did it. That pass over the middle, incomplete. Kenoy Kennedy had a shot at it. It'll be 2nd and 10. Now, we talked about that gunslinger approach of Brett Favre's, and he throws them sidearm and overhand, and however he can get it there. But that also causes him to cough it up quite a bit. He comes into this game having thrown 20 interceptions, and he threw number 21 earlier today.
Guys, quarterbacks, this is being general, but quarterbacks who can, what I consider, really throw the football, that have tremendous arms, they're going to throw some interceptions because everything they look at, it looks like it's over. I can get it in there.
Favre stepping out of trouble and then overthrew Amon Green on the near side of the field.
And I've heard coaches even say it too. And I'll never forget this. I used to do a show in New York with Bill Parcells. And we did this show in the week. And Brett Favre played on a Monday night game, and he made an unbelievable throw in the end zone against the Minnesota Vikings in between 3 defenders for a touchdown. So I was talking about it with Bill Parcells. And Bill Parcells, what do you think made him throw that football? And I looked at him and said, Bill, to him, it was probably wide open. And he laughed, he goes, yeah, you're probably right. So every situation he sees, he thinks he can physically overcome it. That was illegal too. Trying to draw him off sides with his hands.
3rd and 10, a rifle shot out to the near side, and that's complete to Antonio Freeman for a first down inside the 30-yard line. 13-yard pickup. Timeout stops the clock with 1:11 in the first half. 10-0 Packers. We'll be back. I am confident that Jim, Dan, Dion, and Boomer will explain completely and totally the playoff picture coming up. Today's scores and highlights on the Nextel halftime report. They'll come at you from New York after we wind down here in the first half.
Well, there you go. That's the Pope up here. Vince Lombardi.
Now that's a hat.
That was a good-looking hat.
Favre on first down. Screen. Drop. Incomplete. Intended for Fisher. 2nd and 10.
Greg, we talked about this already, but seeing it in person, this Green Bay team, they are the best actors I've seen when it comes to screens. I, again, was looking down the field because it looked like a pattern you would see or an offensive play. When he dropped it off to the screen, I was fooled, and so was the Denver defense. The bad throw by Favre stopped it from being a big play.
Favre and the Packers have reeled off 9 plays in this drive and just 1 minute and 52 seconds off the clock. Trying the left side. Inside the 25 is Fisher to about the 22 or 23 yard line. Clock continues to move.
Yeah, plenty of time. No reason to be in a hurry. 50 seconds, 2 timeouts.
Javon Walker to the bottom of your screen. Favre going to throw it the other direction, and that one is incomplete. Pass is intended for Bubba Franks, and Kenoy Kennedy was on him. The crowd in that neck of the woods thinks it was a little too tight.
You know, and everybody, it's 3rd down and it's short, and you're going, why are they throwing it so long? Well, because the Denver Broncos blitzed, and they were playing everybody tight, and they were going to force Brett Favre. If you want the throw, if you want a first down, it's going to be down the field.
33.
So that will bring Longwell onto the field, and he will try this one from about 41 yards out. I think at 40. Kick is on its way, and it bends to the right, and it's no good. So that drive by the Packers comes up empty.
Well, it's cold, it's windy. The footballs, they look like they're very firm, hard. That is going to hurt kickers, quarterbacks, receivers, and it's way off the mark.
Brett feels it.
Yeah, you know, too, Greg, we talked about it. Brett Favre, last week, under the tough circumstances, he had a whole week of practice. He knew everything. As long as he's played, still to come in here and just get Friday's practice, 1 meeting, and to get ready for a game against a high-quality team like Denver, I think he's performed very, very well in the first half.
Cannell almost lost the handle. He throws out here, and that's complete. And out of bounds at the 40-yard line is Jeb Poutsier, the 2nd-year tight end out of Boise State.
You've been waiting to say that name. And you said it so.
Been on the boards all year long. I believe it's the first play he's made. You see the timeout situation there. 11-yard pickup, first down at the 41.
The Denver Broncos, it's 10-0. I was going to say 13. 10-0. They got to feel good about the way the first half has gone. Nothing's really gone their way, and they're only down by 10 points.
This pass, it's the sideline. Looked like the same play. Poutsier again with the grab.
You talk to Greg, you think back, Green Bay's touchdown in the first half. Jason Sykes, I should say, had a chance for the interception, and we were talking about it during a commercial. What did Mike Shanahan say about why we don't get more interceptions and turnovers?
He says our guys can't catch.
They just can't catch it. We're going to spend the offseason working on skills to catch the ball on defense.
2nd and 5. Quick pass, and that one's complete across midfield and to the 46 of the Green Bay Packers. Lashley Lally pulled it in, and a timeout stops the clock with 17 seconds to play. Broncos hopeful getting on the board here before the break. There's a look at Jason Elam. He has a career-long 63. He's hit 51 twice this season. He's the first in NFL history with 100 points in each of his first 11 seasons. Right now, they're looking at a 63-yard field goal from here. Cannell throws the other way to the 40-yard line, and Griffin goes out of bounds. Stops the clock with 10 seconds to play. Now, we noticed in the warm-ups before the game that the kickers who were kicking were getting all their distance going in the other direction.
Good point, Greg. And it's definitely into the wind. It's not Denver. It's not the altitude, the thin air, all that stuff. So they're going to need, I think, at least 10 yards in this play to give him what I would consider a makeable field goal chance.
2nd and 5. Cannell under pressure, throwing this side. It is incomplete. knocked down by number 21, Baoju. The pass intended for Charlie Adams. 4 seconds on the clock.
3rd and 5.
And Mike Shanahan has shown no inclination to send Jason Meenum onto the field.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. So that tells you on the field the wind's strong enough where they're not even going to attempt it.
From here, it would be about a 58-yarder. Coutier, Griffin, Charlie Adams, and now we get a timeout. Denver uses its second timeout as Cannell goes over to the sideline.
Yeah, because you know what happened is they were calling a play. I don't think that was going to give them a chance to get the football in the end zone. So reorganize, get a formation, do the old, Hail Mary, the prayer at the end, and see if you can get some players in the end zone, maybe get lucky and catch a rebound.
How confident were you whenever you threw a Hail Mary?
Not at all. Here's what the quarterback thinks. Heck, here comes another interception. So you throw it, instead of rooting for your guys to catch it, you just going, man, I hope somebody knocks it down. But I never had a Hail Mary caught in my whole life.
Really?
Never. I don't even remember even getting it done in practice. Maybe it's because I couldn't reach the end zone. Maybe that had something to do with it.
Cannell on the move, looking, throwing for the end zone. And there it is, an interception. Goes into the books as an interception by Darren Sharper to bring the first half to an end. Phil Simms living the nightmare up here in the booth. Let's go down to Armin.
Mike, you got to make tough choices at times. Your thoughts behind the decision to replace Jarius with Danny?
Well, we're going to rotate him throughout the game. We might come back with Jarius a little bit here in the second half. Get a chance to evaluate them in a live situation and see how they do.
Your team's effort so far?
Pardon me?
Your team's effort so far?
Oh, we've got a good effort. Obviously, offensively, we're not playing in sync. Hopefully, we'll get a little bit better in sync.
All right, Coach. Thank you.
That's the end of our first half in a game the Packers have to have. They lead it 10-0. We're coming back with the next halftime report after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Welcome back to Lambeau Field along with Phil Simms, Greg Gumbel. 10-0 Packers. I think it's interesting the Packers are sitting in that locker room not knowing that it's right there for them to take. If Minnesota continues the way they're going, they're losing to Arizona. The Packers need to win this game, and they're in. Mike Sherman will have none of that.
Well, yeah, but some of the players had the equipment guys run around and find out the score probably. That's what I would do if I was a player. But you look at this game, and the Green Bay Packers, they've had some opportunities. They missed a field goal. They know what it means to them. The pressure, they let the Denver Broncos, I think, hang in there. So when you let them hang in there, the Broncos go, well, heck, let's go ahead and try to find a way to win this thing. So it's going to be a tough second half.
Take a look at the halftime numbers and see what they say, and look at the total yards. Green Bay has chalked up 170 of them, but you look at those numbers there, and it would not indicate that this is only a 10-point game.
Yeah,
it feels like it's more than that.
Yeah, it does, because the tempo has been dictated by the Green Bay Packers. But again, I think they know that everybody here knows how much they need the game. They need to win. Minnesota's losing. Can you widen the margin and take the pressure off yourself?
And of course, Mike Sherman won't let it be announced, but we talked to some fans down below here. Oh yeah, they know the score.
They know the score, that's right.
The Broncos from the 5-yard line, it's Medice, 25. Out across the 30 to about the 31-yard line. Let's go down to Armin.
Greg, in talking to Mike Sherman, he said basically about their running game, that was what he was most concerned about. He said we have to do a better job of securing and establishing that. And I mentioned the Viking score. I said, did you tell your players at all about the score? And he gave me one of those looks, and he said, listen, the only score we need to worry about is the one up on the scoreboard. And then just a couple of quick injury updates. Najee Davenport, x-rays on his neck, and Mike Wall, broken left ring finger, Greg. They've casted it, and he will play and continue to play in this game. Back to you.
All right, Armin.
I wonder, Armin, were you scared when he gave you that look? Because that's a big man, and can be intimidating.
Danny Cannell, the quarterback for the Broncos, hands off to Quentin Griffin out to close to the 35-yard line. Campman and Navies with the tackle as we look at the offensive leaders in the first half for the Denver Broncos. Jarius Jackson was 4 out of 9 for 41 yards and an interception, and Dan Cannell 5 out of 9 for 33. Quentin Griffin carried the ball 10 times for 33 yards, and Ed McCaffrey, 3 catches, 29 yards, and a couple of huge hits. 2nd and 6. Griffin again. Nothing doing. Lost yardage on the play.
Greg, we talked so much and we said a lot of things about the Denver Broncos running game, but you got to commend the Green Bay Packers defensive line. Ed Donatell, the defensive coordinator, showing you how athletic they are. They can run along, and even when those offensive linemen are hitting the ground, they're able to dance around it, to stay up and make the tackles. That's why Quentin Griffin and the Denver running backs have had troubles after the first couple runs finding open holes to run into.
There's a jump on the far side on 3rd and 6. The marker is down, and finding running room is Quentin Griffin. Griffin has enough for a first down as he's out of bounds close to the 45-yard line. Cledius Hunt appeared to jump on the far side of the field.
All sides against Green Bay, and Greg, did that not look exactly like Barry Sanders on that
Offside,
run?
97, defense. That penalty is declined. Result of the play, first down.
You know, when you put Quentin Griffin into that class, you're talking about a guy who can dance and then start and stop just like that.
And I hate comparisons. I don't like to do that to players because there's nothing like the original, but the body size and that move that we saw, complete dead stop, restarts and gets outside and picks up a first down.
This is Cecil Sapp, and Sapp forward close to midfield, about the 48-yard line. There has been a change in the weather in Arizona. Here's Jim Nance in New York.
At long last, Minnesota's on the board. 8 plays, 72-yard drive. It is Mo Williams, the final yard, 7-6. Vikings in the desert. Let's go back to Greg and Phil.
All right, Jim, Minnesota with a win in Arizona can claim the AFC North, and it would make this game, NFC North rather, and it would make this game the Packers' last of the season. Still a ways to go in that game and in this one. Second and 6. It's Sapp again, and Sapp is nailed at midfield by Grady Jackson. We had a conversation with Grady Jackson. How are you doing? He says, "Oh, I'm great since coming here to Green Bay."
Yeah, he likes it up here in Green Bay, number 75. He loves to get in the backfield. A couple techniques. Did you see he had the straight arms out there? That's why he was able to get in on the play. There's Kabir Baja-Biamila going against Ephraim Salam on the outside, not doing much.
3rd and 5. Quick drop, quick pass, incomplete over the middle. Ashley Lally, the intended receiver, and Michael Hawthorne was right with it. So that'll bring Micah Noor on to punt.
I know we were going to talk about Grady Jackson. He's playing well. He says, I just picture people from New Orleans on the other side of the ball all the time, and I just attack them, and worked well on that last play. Not a happy ending for Grady Jackson with the New Orleans Saints.
Chapman back at his own 10. Denver trying to change the position around here. Nice kick. Fair catch called for and made at the 10-yard line. That's where the Packers will go to work with 11:49 to play in the 3rd. Hey, tonight on 60 Minutes, Michael Jackson, for the first time since his arrest, talks to Ed Bradley, and only Ed Bradley. See this exclusive interview tonight on 60 Minutes. Worst field position of the day for Green Bay, first starting position. And up over the 10 to the 13 is Amon Green. A pickup of 4. It'll be 2nd and 6.
Boy, after that initial surge by this Green Bay offense, Denver's defense has really tightened up and played extremely well. And they've gotten their hands. They intercepted one pass, got their hands on a couple other ones too. On the ground again. And Amon Green wrapped up
that time by number 92, Bertrand Berry. That Denver defense has been leaps and bounds better under Larry Coyer. Look at last season to this year.
Well,
it's night and day.
It is night and day, and you talk about a lot of reasons why the Denver Broncos are going to be in the playoffs. Jake Plummer, Mike Shanahan, Clinton Portis. The number one reason, I think, the defense, it's been stable all year. It's been consistent, and the big reason why right there, Larry Coyer, the defensive coordinator, he got them coordinated. He simplified this defense. They don't make mistakes, and that's why they've had a solid year.
3rd and 2. That's a first down run and then some across the 25 to the 28-yard line. Amon Green picking up 10 on the play, and it's a first down.
Greg, I think you said it when you were given the starting lineups. Mike Flanagan, the center, just watch what he does along with Mike Wall. Oh, perfect tandem, blocking the defensive lineman and the linebacker. And Amon Green does a good job. Nice, very nice, going around the blocks and picking up good yardage.
Davenport and Henderson in the backfield now, and Favre going to throw. On the move, looking back, spinning, flips it out, and he's going to be ruled down. He's going to be ruled down in the backfield by Bill Carollo. Monsanto Pope will get credit for the sack. Yeah, no doubt. His knee hits the ground before he gets rid of the football. Good coverage down the field, and then just pushing the pocket makes Brett Favre come outside, and once he does, Monsanto Pope never gives up. Knees on the ground before he flips the ball away. Good call. Loss of 14 makes it 2nd and 24. Big play. What you're trying to do, the Denver Broncos defense, you want to stop them here. You want to change field position for your offense. All the reserves and backups playing, they need a short field to try to score points. Favre spins out of trouble and is going to run, and he runs out of bounds just short of the 20-yard line. Well, it's a good thing he didn't throw it. It would have been a penalty for linemen down the field. A screen play that Denver diagnoses, and the guy we were talking about, Mike Flanagan, he was only about 15 yards down. We'd like to, at least I'd like to thank Mother Nature for the break she granted us this weekend. This is hardly your typical late December day in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Yeah, that. So would Armin Katayan. He's down on the field, so he's thankful for it. And really, honestly, I'm a little disappointed. I wanted to come up here and see the real cold and maybe some snow flurries and watch this crowd, see this beautiful stadium. And what you picture with Lambeau Field late in December. Favre flips it. That's complete. And Fisher spins down short of the 30-yard line, well short of a first down, and that'll force the Packers to punt. Pretty good defensive turn on the field by the Denver Broncos. And the Broncos, Al Wilson, their starting linebacker, they have now substituted for him. It looks like Keith Burns played the middle of this last series and did a good job. Was in on a couple tackles. Delpha O'Neal from the 25. Looking for room to run. Finding some. 35, 40, 45. Still on his feet and out of bounds across midfield into Green Bay territory. Fine job by Delpha O'Neal, a 46-yard punt, a 27-yard return. 8:07 to play. Third. This new stadium, the facilities, you walk through it, you see photos and names. It is something else. This is Poutsier, and Poutsier with a first down, 13-yard pickup. Let's go down to Armin Katayan. Armin.
Thanks, Greg. I'm with one of the Broncos not playing today, Shannon Sharp. Shannon, you've got 3 Super Bowl rings. What is it about this team that makes you believe they can make it all the way to Houston?
The way we're starting to compete down the stretch. I mean, we won 5 out of 6 games. We got a hot running back. We got a quarterback that's playing extremely well. And our defense is holding people 20 minutes, only time of possession for 20 minutes. So anytime you get that, you have to feel good with where you are.
All right, we'll go back to Greg.
That pass is incomplete, and there's a penalty marker down. So let's check and see who this is going to be against Green Bay. This is the first time today Denver has started to drive in Green Bay territory. Bill Carollo.
Illegal use of the hands. Hands to the face. 27. Defense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Penalty is on Michael Hawthorne. Arnold.
Thanks, Greg. Shannon, now you're going to Indy, obviously, next week. The big win there last week. How does that factor into that game?
Well, obviously, we feel we can go there and get a win. We've done that before. We're very familiar with each other because it's only going to be a week removed since we last played these guys. We know they're going to do some things different, but we're going to do some things different. We're going to be ready to go play this game.
All right, Shannon, thank you.
Thanks, Arnold.
That play gets little or no yardage at all. Hannibal Navies and Darren Sharp are coming up for the stop. 7:20 to play here in the third quarter. You know, the good news for the Green Bay Packers is guys like Shannon Sharp and Jake Plummer and Rod Smith aren't playing in this game. The bad news is, if they were, this might be very much the other way around than it is on the scoreboard.
Well, we never know, Greg, and it's like saying, well, if he wouldn't have thrown an interception here, the game would have been different. I don't know, but there have been opportunities there where you would think Jake Plummer or some of the star players of the Broncos were taking advantage of it.
2nd and 9. Cannell throws out here, complete to Lally, and Lally inside the 25 to about the 23-yard line. Niall Diggs, Marcus Anderson with the stop after a 6-yard game, and up comes a big 3rd and 3.
Well, too, you know, when you watch this game, Ashley Lally on the outside, number 85. Now he is getting some of those footballs thrown to him that usually go to Rod Smith. It was a blitz. Danny Cannell sees it. Michael Hawthorne, 27, on the blitz. They take advantage of it, and they pick up some valuable yards.
This is the deepest the Denver Broncos have been in Green Bay territory today, the 23-yard line. 3rd and 3. Cannell over the middle, and that's complete inside the 20 to Poutsier, and that'll be enough for a first down.
Good job by Danny Cannell, knowing the situation, looking to his left. He knows he has Poutsier coming short across the middle. He waits to the last second, makes the perfect throw.
Nick Barnett, the rookie linebacker, the first-round pick of the Packers out of Oregon State, with a terrific hit. Denver's red zone offense. Griffin trying to spin away, but there's not much there on the right side. Maybe a yard, and it'll be 2nd and 9.
Yeah, again, I tell you what, this Green Bay defensive line not hitting the ground. That's why they're having so much trouble running the football.
5 minutes to play in the third. Cannell throws into the flat, and it is incomplete, intended for Quentin Griffin. 3rd and 9.
Situations like this, yards are so hard to come by. Quentin Griffin out in the flat, nobody around him, and Shannon Sharp knows it. It's tough getting first downs in a game like this. Quentin Griffin, not used to the situation, lets an easy pass slip through his arms.
So the line of scrimmage is the Green Bay 18. They need the 9-yard line for a first down. Cannell throws, crossing pattern, and that is complete to 82, Adrian Medis, but he's well short of a first down. That will bring Jason Elam in the field goal unit on.
Yeah, still a good drive by the Denver Broncos. Of course, good stop by Green Bay in a situation like that. You're down 10-0. A field goal makes it 10-3. You've accomplished one goal. Get within one possession of the other team.
This will be a 31-yarder. Kick is on its way, and it is good. 4 minutes exactly to play in the third quarter. The Broncos on the board. Trail now 10-3. We'll be back. Hey, Monday on The Late Show, Dave welcomes Julia Roberts. And later this week, catch Madonna, Russell Crowe, Amanda Peet, Kirsten Dunst. Music from Pink and Rod Stewart. That's all this week on The Late Show.
You know David Letterman has a crush on Julia Roberts, don't you?
I did not know that.
Well, see, I watch every once in a while, Greg.
Davenport and Fisher deep for the kick. From the 12-yard line, it's Davenport. Right up the middle to about the 30, maybe just across the 30-yard line. 3:55 to play. We'll take a break. Coming back to Green Bay right after this.
Of course, I have a crush on you.
There's a look at one of the 3 Super Bowl trophies that home is a renovated Lambeau. It is a beautiful facility. We were walking through it on Friday, Phil, and we were amazed at not only how many areas you can visit, but how many people were visiting in the middle of the day on Friday afternoon.
I'm amazed that there is not one single empty seat in this stadium.
Favre throwing over the middle. Oh, he hit his man across the 45 to the 46-yard line. Javon Walker with the diving catch. Let's get an update on the Vikings and the Cardinals from Jim Nantz in New York.
All right, Greg, it's 7-6 out there in the desert. And check this out at the end of the third quarter. McCown for the Cardinals. All kinds of pressure here. Ball squirts free, recovered by the Cardinals. But 7-6, Vikings with the football, fourth quarter at the Arizona 40. Back to you.
And once again, the Packers absolutely need an Arizona victory over the Vikings, and they need to beat Denver here in order to make the postseason. Here's Amon Green. Green, running room, 45, 40. Midfield, down middle of the field to the 10, and he's brought down from behind. Keith Burns made the stop. Amon Green found the groove.
Yes, he did. It's a nice blocking up front by the offensive line. But really what, too, Amon Green just makes nice cuts. We talked about his size and power, Greg, but what makes you one of the elite backs in the National Football League is when you get out in the open, do you have the speed to take it for those really long gains? And you saw that he does.
Asked him the kind of runner he thinks he is. He says, I think I'm a slasher type runner. I've been that since high school. 47 yards, the longest play today, and Najee Davenport inside the 5 to about the 3.
Yeah, you know, what's a slasher as a running back? I asked him, he goes, I take my time, I watch what's going on, but when I decide to take off, I run through that hole, I rip it through there, and, well, we saw it on that last play. He waited and waited, he moved around, then when he got some open space, he takes advantage of it.
He told us he played against Al Wilson, the Denver middle linebacker, in the Fiesta Bowl several years ago.
Yeah, and he won that battle. Al Wilson admitted it to us last night. He said at halftime, I felt like I'd played a whole game just tackling Amon Green.
Green, left side, touchdown. That looked way too easy.
There is no contesting this run. That time, nobody really gets a hand on Amon Green, and he goes in for the touchdown.
That ties Amon Green for the most touchdowns in a season by a Green Bay Packer. The extra point is good. 1:35 to play in the third quarter. And the Packers extend their lead, 17-3. They still need some help from the desert. Amon Green scores his 19th touchdown. Jim Taylor, the only other Packer to have scored that many. He did it in a 14-game season back in 1962. 17-3 Green Bay. Medice and Anderson are deep. From the 5, it's Medice. 25. Running room, far side of the field, midfield, down the sideline. Can he make it? No, he's dragged down from behind inside the 15-yard line by Michael Hawthorne. 83-yard return by the fifth round draft pick out of TCU.
And the Green Bay Packers have one of these stacked kickoff teams. And when I see that by kickoff teams, they seem to not get down the field as fast as they would if they just lined up. And Medice, Greg, you can see the speed he has, and the last person, Michael Hawthorne, just drags him down. But there's a wide open hole going up in there, nobody around him, goes down the sideline, and only the speed of Michael Hawthorne stops the touchdown.
Special teams for the Broncos today. An 83-yard kickoff return, a 27-yard punt return by Deltha O'Neal. This is Griffin. Griffin spins inside the 10 to about the 8-yard line. Nick Barnett, Marcus Anderson with the stop. It'll be 2nd and 6.
Well, Marcus Anderson, he has played along with Darren Sharper, the safeties. They're a big reason why Denver is not running the football with great success today. They have made a lot of tackles. They've made the runner cut back, and that's what Mike Sherman said. Backside safeties have to have a good game of tackling the Denver running backs.
The pitch for Griffin. Following a block right side, cuts inside, penalty marker is down. Marcus Anderson again coming up from the safety position to make the play. And it's going to go back. It's going to go against Denver.
Holding. 50. Offense. 10-yard penalty. Replay, 2nd down.
Left guard Ben Hamilton.
Well, you're not having success running the football up inside, so when he pitched it, I went, oh, that's a nice call. That's different. They haven't seen the pitch and go wide play today, but boy, it's interesting. We just talked about Marcus Anderson, who comes up, dodges Ephraim Salaam, gets out of his way, and makes the tackle.
173 return yards, eclipses the total offense number for the Broncos. Mike Shanahan will take him any way he can get him. Half a minute to play in the 3rd quarter. Griffin, left side, running room, 10, and out of bounds, and there's a marker. Out of bounds at about the 8-yard line. And this one's going to be against Green Bay. Looked like Quentin Griffin lost a contact lens.
Personal foul. Face mask. 42. Defense. Half the distance to the goal. 1st down.
Penalty is on Darren Sharper. We go to Jim Nantz.
All right, Greg, deflating news here for Packer fans. Minnesota's on the board again. It's Culpepper, Randy Moss, 7 yards, 14-6, inside 9 minutes. Back to you.
Phil, what did you tell me at halftime? If you were in Minnesota and you were Mike Tice, if they needed something, put the ball in Dante Culpepper's hands.
Oh, give it to Dante Culpepper every snap. Look for Randy Moss, and if you're going to lose with your best players controlling the football.
We have come to the end of the 3rd quarter at Lambeau with our score, the Packers 17 and the Broncos 3. And we'll come back to Green Bay after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS.
38 station.
A look at the NFC playoff picture. If things remain the way they are now, if Minnesota continues to win, if Carolina continues to win, Carolina would be the number 3 seed in the NFC. Minnesota would be 4th. Carolina would host Dallas. Minnesota would host Seattle, but we're still a ways from that. Start of the 4th quarter. Griffin to about the 1.
That was a good shot. Quentin Griffin, just even though he is a smaller running back, not that tall, but nice power running down inside. Know where you're at. He knew they only had a few yards. Every yard is precious when you're inside the opposing 5-yard line.
We've heard defenders talk about running backs like Quentin Griffin, so they cheat, they hide
behind the blockers, yeah.
Quentin Griffin officially listed at 5'7", 195 pounds. 2nd and goal. Griffin. Ooh. No hiding that time. Grady Jackson, Cledius Hunt were waiting.
Yeah, Cledius Hunt, Mike Sherman said he has been pretty dang good this year. And Grady Jackson, number 75, that is awesome by him. Knocked to the ground, which he says does happen, but he's a good enough athlete to be able to be knocked to the ground, get right back up, and make the tackle.
3rd and goal.
He laid that big party ball on him. That's what he did.
Cannell gets rid of it, incomplete at the goal line. Pass intended for Patrick Hape, number 86.
It's a blitz by the Green Bay Packers. The blitzer's coming free. Marcus Anderson, number 20, makes Danny Cannell throw it just a second before he wants. And when you make a quarterback hurry, they're not as accurate.
And we are now going to get a timeout. The Broncos use their first timeout as Danny Cannell runs to the sideline to consult with Mike Shanahan. A lot of time to play, but the Broncos have not been in scoring territory very often, and Shanahan wants to make sure of everything. That's what Denver has done on 4th down attempts this season. Meanwhile, in the last 3 games, Green Bay opponents are 1 out of 8 on 4th down. The line of scrimmage is the 2. 4th and goal. Cannell under pressure throws incomplete. Kabir Bajabiamila, one of the first in on the Denver quarterback.
And if he does not get there are receivers uncovered in the end zone. Watch going across. Danny Cannell doesn't have time. Bajabiamila hits him. Grady Jackson getting pressure. And when you see the play from overhead, watch the inside receiver as he goes across. They're trying to create a traffic jam. They do it. It's Dwayne Carswell, but Danny Cannell does not have time to find him open in the end zone.
Amon Green and Nick Lucci in the backfield, and this is Green. Look at Green, all by himself. Touchdown. And a Lambeau leap. The most touchdowns ever scored by a Green Bay Packer in one season.
Look at the blocking to the right side. Mark Tauscher, the tight end. Bubba Franks with the kick out. And then look at, hey, perfect running form by Amon Green. His head stays still. He keeps working those arms. Tremendous speed for a power running back.
Terrific defense turned into one big offensive play, and the Packers are in charge 24-3.
SWAT on DVD and video December 30th. And by Coors Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Cold, down, easy.
Amon Green, 218 yards rushing on the day. There's another Packer record on his side of the ledger.
That was impressive. The blocking up front, and of course his ability to take advantage of that blocking.
Letting the ball bounce past him, and now chasing it down is Medice, and Medice is going to get corralled inside the 5-yard line. There's a loose ball in the end zone. Touchdown. Bill Carollo first started to step to the 2-yard line to mark forward progress, but Medice was never down. before he lost control.
Medice picks it up. And Greg, one thing was his forward progress stopped, and the answer would be no. And then look at all the Green Bay Packers who go chasing for the football in the end zone.
James Whitley stripped him of the football. Marcus Wilkins recovered for the touchdown.
Bill Carollo made the right call when they said no, his forward progress was not stopped. The play wasn't over. Green Bay touchdown.
The Packers chalk up 2 touchdowns in 8 seconds and lead at 31-3. Poll question of the day: what's the most bizarre play in NFL history? There is a great list to choose from. You can log on and cast your vote at NFL.com.
I haven't answered one of these all year. Franco Harris, immaculate reception. That would be mine.
That's exactly the one I was going to point out.
There you go. We think alike.
Yeah, that'll happen often. The Denver Broncos were just a yard away from making it a 17-10 game. And then 21 seconds later, it's 31-3. 13-10 to play here in the fourth. Jim Nantz in New York.
All right, Greg and Phil. However, for the Packers, things not going their way out in the desert as McCown and the Cardinals right here get picked off by Kevin Williams. It leads to a field goal by Elling. It's 17-6 inside 6 minutes to play. Back to you.
I would think Mike Tice might have issued a challenge to his troops at halftime of that game.
Do you think we've met Mike Tice and we've watched him in some games, he can talk, hey, he can talk some trash. There's no other way to put it. And he talks it to his own players. And he's 6'8". I think he's intimidating. He talks like I tell you, he's a lot of fun to be around. It's fun to watch him coach his team too. Look at these formations that the Green Bay Packers are using. They're stacking, and they're trying to confuse the blocking for the return team. But look, watch how far back and how slow they are getting down the field sometimes, just trying to disguise.
That one hit a Bronco, and it's fallen on at about the 28-yard line. So the Broncos have the football, and today's leading rushers, Amon Green, right there at the very top with 218 yards and a couple of touchdowns. LaDainian Tomlinson with a big day. And, of course, Jamal Lewis yet to take the field.
Yeah, that, and then Lee Suggs comes in for the Cleveland Browns. What a game. And Amon Green, Greg, just talking about him, we talked to him on Friday. He said something interesting to us. He goes, look, I know I have the physical abilities. I know that. He's not even going to be, shy about that. I got the size, the speed. But he goes, I work like somebody who doesn't have it, who's trying to capture it and to get to be one of the better players. When you take somebody with ability who works hard, you have a chance of getting greatness.
He was delightful to listen talk about it. He said, I like to get low, and I like to hit the guy who's trying to hit me. He said, it takes a lot of the soreness out of you when you're dishing it out.
Oh, really, what a day for him. And really, a tremendous way. 10-6. 10-6 used to be an automatic berth in the playoffs in the National Football League, and it looks like we could have two teams, the Green Bay Packers and the Miami Dolphins, both go 10-6, and they will not get in this year.
You kind of almost feel it's a birthright.
Well, it's disappointing. Hey, winning 10 games in the National Football League is a tremendous accomplishment. So it only goes to say that tremendous disappointment would come with it.
Ball tipped, it falls incomplete. The AFC playoff scenario is complete. New England home field throughout. Kansas City will join the Patriots with the first weekend off. Indy, Baltimore, Tennessee, Denver. Indy and Baltimore will host the first weekend.
And when this game's over, we'll start wondering where are we going to be next Sunday. Doesn't matter. Good games, very good games. And what we're witnessing all around the league, home field, of course, it's wonderful to have it, but so many good running backs, and the defenses are stepping up. Upsets could happen.
There's Quentin Griffin, and Griffin out across the 35-yard line. That'll be a couple of yards shy of a first down.
And with the score 31-3, believe me when I say this, the Broncos wanted to end. And I don't think it'll have a great bearing on next week, but still, you're a professional team and a player. You don't want to get embarrassed, and that's what this is starting to turn into.
Under 12 minutes to play. Number 83 is Antonio Chapman. He stands deep for the punt. From the 20. 30. And close to the 35 before Chapman is wrapped up. So Denver and Indianapolis will meet again, and it'll be a repeat of last week's game. Peyton Manning was sacked a couple of times, and we told you earlier what a day Quentin Griffin had. 28 carries, 136 yards rushing. Jake Plummer had a couple of touchdown runs and threw for more than 200 yards as the Broncos won it by a score of 31-17. And you'd have to think these Indianapolis Colts are just chomping at the bit to try to redeem themselves.
Oh, absolutely. So many good subplots. The Broncos, they dominated. Can they do it again? Can they find maybe a different way to do it? The Indianapolis Colts are pride really hit in their game. So you know they're going to adjust what they thought going into the game. And now they've played them. So they have that memory. Okay, maybe they were faster, they're quicker. They will make those adjustments. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Brett Favre comes out of the ball game. You can only begin to imagine the emotional swings that he has gone through over the past week. Doug Peterson, number 18, is the quarterback.
When I get time here, you know, over the years, we've come up here, Greg. We've talked to Brett Favre. It never involves football. It's him telling us stories. They're always funny. Al Harris told us, a defensive back who came from Philadelphia up here. He said something about Brett Favre. He just goes, hey, everybody likes him. He just makes you feel comfortable. He's a leader. He doesn't lead by fear or trying to dominate you. He makes you feel comfortable at home, and that's one of the reasons why people, that and his ability, of course, being a tremendous player, that's why people want to follow him, and he is such a good leader. Great leader by example. We are under 10 minutes to play. And when I get a chance, I won't start it now, but I got to tell a story. It's been, you heard it on Monday night, his father passing away a few days ago, but he's told me many stories about his father, and his nickname is Old Hammerhead, and he said it was okay if I called him that, and the stories they're pretty funny, so we'll relay one of those here later on in the game.
Delpha O'Neal is standing at his own 25-yard line. And O'Neal fair catches this one at about the 20-yard line. 9:20 to play, fourth quarter. Packer playoff hopes clinging by a thread. Michael Jackson, for the first time since his arrest, talks to Ed Bradley and only Ed Bradley. This exclusive interview comes your way tonight on 60 Minutes. Substitutions being made on both sides of the ball now. A couple of reserve offensive linemen in for the Denver Broncos. Blake Brockemeyer and Steve Herndon, to name two. Cecil Sapp and Mike Anderson in the backfield. And Cannell with the handoff. Let's go back to what you were talking about with Brett Favre, because I know the story you're going to tell.
Yeah, and I'm going to keep it really simple and clean. Old Hammerhead was Brett Favre's high school coach. They were a big running football team, of course, because he had a lot of good running backs, and they're down near the goal line, and Brett Favre changes the play, and he scores a touchdown running. They win the game. It's a big game. Everybody's excited, and Brett Favre says, before I can even get out of the end zone, up the sideline to come back to the bench, my dad is right in my face, and he goes, what do you mean change the play? I sit into you. Forget about it. We've just won a big game, and everybody's excited. He was upset at his son for changing the play that he had sent in.
Old Hammerhead was all over me.
Oh, just it. And his father, he's told so many stories about him, about how tough he was, and that only makes sense because Brett Favre is one of those tough football players. Doesn't talk about it, he just shows it on the football field. And the only way you can be that way and show that on the field is if you grew up in that type of environment. So it's
coming up on 8 minutes to play here in the fourth quarter. As Brett looks on and wonders if the Arizona Cardinals are going to be able to rally.
Well, I'm so curious, do they have any idea of the score? Does anybody relaying that information to the players on the sideline?
Cecil Sapp with the carry. Let's go down to Armin.
Greg, if I could just kind of chime in with a personal story about Brett. You know, we go back to August in that preseason interview I did with him in Cleveland when literally the lights went out during the course of the interview, that blackout. When Brett talking about the blackout period of his life where he was fighting that well-publicized battle with alcohol and prescription drugs, and how proud he was of his recovery and the person he is today, and playing now in his 206th consecutive game, and mentioned in the same breath with Marino and Unitas. And I'll say now what I said then. I said if the NFL is looking for a symbol of what this league is all about, I don't think you can find any better figure than number 4.
Yeah, Armin, he has been just a pillar of example in the National Football League. That kick rolls to a stop at the 10-yard line. 7:03 to play here in the fourth quarter. Talk about key plays today. Adrian Medice had a chance to score a touchdown. Michael Hawthorne dragged him down, and then the Packer defense came up with a goal line stand. And then on the very next play, Amon Green broke through for a 98-yard touchdown. And then on the ensuing kickoff, Adrian Medice lost it. Marcus Wilkins dove on it for the touchdown. And this game turned around in a big hurry. Doug Peterson, the quarterback. It was to Nick Lucci, who is a running back. As a fullback, is only listed at 6'2", 270 pounds.
Doug Peterson, the backup up here. Hey, that's one job. It's if you don't want to play, it's a good spot up here in Green Bay.
Yeah, not much seems to knock Brett out of the starting box.
Yeah. And two, you know, Greg, being an ex-quarterback, I'm a pretty tough judge. In other words, I don't go, oh, he's wonderful, when I see all these quarterbacks like a lot of people do. But when I've watched Brett Favre in person, I just go, oh, okay. You know, okay, I understand, and I know why he is truly a great player and will go in the Hall of Fame. And it stands out to me when I watch him in person. I can see these different than almost any other quarterback I've ever watched. And I said the same thing when I first got in this job, when I went out and saw John Elway in Denver, because we competed against the Denver Broncos many times. I did as a player, and I watched him practice one day, and I go, you know, he's pretty good. Because it was the first time I'd watched him as a fan, as an outsider, and I think I just can appreciate their talent a lot more. The same with Dan Marino, and I'm not just saying this. When I watched Deion Sanders for the first time on film, I went, wow, this guy is different from the rest of the defensive backs that I've watched all through my career.
This is Tony Fisher. Fisher, left side.
And, you know, I'm sorry, I left out the other guy in the studio, Boomer Esiason. He's a good-looking guy. What can I say?
Wears the suit well, doesn't he?
That's right. You know, a very good player in his own right, I'm sure. But it is, and you know it too. We watch Amon Green here. When we see players that are special, you can see it right away. When you see him in person and around other professional athletes, when you can stand out in this environment, you have to be special.
Here's Delpha O'Neal. And O'Neal from his own 47-yard line takes it into Green Bay territory to about the Packer 45. Let's check in with Jim Nantz at the NFL Today in New York. Jim.
All right, Greg, a little hope here now for Green Bay. The Cardinals put together a drive, 4th and 1. And look at this. McCown looks like he's in big trouble, but finds Steve Bush at the last moment. Touchdown. They fail on the 2. Onside kick is on the way. Back to you.
Under 2 minutes to play there in the desert.
I might have spoke too soon. about that game being over. I don't know if I did or not. I just kind of assumed that it was.
I was just going to let you wallow with it for a while. First down, Denver. And although Mike Shanahan said they were going to rotate Jarius Jackson and Danny Cannell here in the second half, it's been all Cannell.
And I got to tell you, too, I'm disappointed for Jarius Jackson that it didn't work better for him. That's a lot of pressure he was under. He knew it. He talked about it. When you just get really, truly one shot, here it is. Make it happen. And it just didn't go as well as he hoped it would.
2nd and 7. The clock continues to move here in Green Bay. There is the requisite cheese.
I paid money for you to put that on your head.
I paid money not to. Straight ahead is Cecil Sapp. And Sapp to the 35. And this crowd just hoping that the Arizona Cardinals can come up with a victory against the Minnesota Vikings. We have a timeout on the field with an injured player. And that stops the clock with 3:45 to play in the 4th. We would like to welcome those of you just joining us. You're watching the Denver Broncos and the Green Bay Packers. Greg Gumbel with Phil Simms and Armin Katayan live at Lambeau Field in Green Bay, where the Packers lead the Broncos by a score of 31-3. Word from Arizona is that the Cardinals have recovered the onside kick and are still trying to mount some sort of a challenge to the Minnesota Vikings.
That's why all the fans here are standing up, wanting to know what's going on. I'm watching them, and they're turning around to the suites, wanting everybody that's watching the game in their suites to give them some information.
There they are. They're turning around and looking. No one's paying attention to the field now. They'd like a little miracle from Arizona. 3.5 minutes to play. And not much happening there either.
Personal foul, number 90 on the defense. Unnecessary roughness, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Oh, I'd like to welcome those of you just joining us now. You're watching the Denver Broncos and the Green Bay Packers. 31-3. The Packers are in charge with 3:20 to play. Greg Gumbel, Phil Simms, and Armin Katayan live in Green Bay. In the suite, they are watching the Arizona Cardinals and the Minnesota Vikings. That game has 45 seconds to play. The Vikings with a 17-12 lead.
And they're inside the 10-yard line going in. Boy, it's a good thing the players are not watching this right now.
Meanwhile, on the field, Danny Cannell hands off to Cecil Sapp, and Sapp is dragged down at about the 16-yard line. Meanwhile, those of you expecting to see 60 minutes, you're watching the NFL on CBS, our game between the Broncos and the Packers. Our score is 31-3. 60 minutes will be seen in its entirety immediately following this game, except on the West Coast. Well, what does that Minnesota game mean to the Packers? It means everything. If Arizona can rally and beat the Vikings, it means the Packers win the NFC North and are in the postseason. If the Vikings prevail, the Packers are done, despite a valiant effort here at Lambeau this evening. .225 to play.
You look at this Packer team, they've been under such stress for so many weeks because they knew they had to probably get to 10 victories. That's what they thought would get them into the playoffs. They've got there. Now they have to wait and see if it's enough.
There is a chant that has started down below us that goes something like, "Let's go Cardinals." Maybe the only time you will ever hear the Packers cheering for the Arizona Cardinals. 2 minutes to play at Lambeau. We'll be back.
The praise that Mazda 6 has received for applying sports car engineering to a sedan.
On the last play of the game, you heard the celebration at Lambeau as McCown, desperation throw, looks for Nate Poole, and it's going to be reviewed now. We hear upstairs it's going to be a booth review. Was he pushed out? He only got 1 foot down, but they're going to review it upstairs to see if he was pushed out. Let's go back to Greg and Phil.
That play is under review, but look at the Packer faithful here. They knew it when it happened, and they're on their feet cheering. Meanwhile, the Broncos play out the string, but on the field, as the fans began to communicate to the players what was happening in Arizona, Brett Favre and the rest of the Packers, all of a sudden there's reason to look forward to tomorrow.
Well, when you say the play is under review, I thought the officials ruled that it was a push out. So when you're forced out as a receiver, I didn't know that was reviewable.
Meanwhile, a 4th and 4 here for Cannell and the Broncos. And that's not going to get much. The ball will go over on downs, and the cheering resumes here among the Packer fans. The booth is automatically reviewing the catch in Arizona. Keep in mind, that was the last play of the game. If it stands, the Vikings are out. The Packers are champions of the NFC North, and they're in. And the ruling is just coming down now from Arizona on whether the play stands and is valid or not. And let's go to Jim Nantz in New York.
It is a touchdown for the Cardinals, and the Packers are going to make the playoffs. McCown here to Poole for the winner. They say at the game site they were reviewing possession, not the issue if he was pushed out. It's a touchdown. The Cardinals have stunned the Vikings. Minnesota is out. Green Bay is in. Back to you.
Boy, stunned is absolutely the word for it, and Brett Favre stunned the exact opposite way. It means that when Green Bay is victorious, the Packers will be home to Seattle the first weekend of the playoffs. Carolina will host the Dallas Cowboys.
And, you know, see Brett Favre, the emotion.
The final 25 seconds will tick away here in Green Bay. And just a few minutes ago, these Packers didn't really have much of a prayer. Arizona, thousands of miles away, have given them new life. Green Bay, 31-3 winners over the Denver Broncos. Philadelphia, home field in the NFC throughout the postseason. St. Louis also with a first-round bye. Green Bay and Seattle here at Lambeau. Dallas travels to Carolina to play the Panthers. Brett Favre, thanks to the Arizona Cardinals, lives to fight another day. And he'll do it on the turf here at Lambeau Field. They love their Packers, don't they?
Just an incredible ending. That's all. The pictures say it all. What an ending for the team, the fans, and for him.
You know, all through Minnesota, there is nothing but heartbreak. The Arizona Cardinals rose up just as several other teams did around the National Football League. As we said at the start of the day, nothing is for certain around here. The AFC playoff picture looks like this. New England, home field advantage throughout. Kansas City also off the first weekend. Baltimore will host Tennessee. Indianapolis with a return date against the Denver Broncos. It'll be a whale of a postseason. It all leads up to the Super Bowl in Houston here on CBS on the 1st of February. For Phil Simms and Armin Katayan, Greg Gumbel saying so long from Lambeau. Our final score, the Packers 31 and the Broncos 3. Coming up next, Jim Nantz and the guys of the NFL Today. Thanks for joining us, everyone. You've been watching the NFL on CBS.